A massive wildfire rages in California. Flames tear through trees, and ash falls like snow as sirens echo in the distance. Amidst the chaos, a lone firefighter stands firm, his face resolute against the glowing inferno. He raises his radio, his voice a calm beacon in the storm, coordinating the desperate efforts to save lives and homes. We see glimpses of the community. Volunteers forming human chains to pass water buckets. A young woman rescuing a frightened deer from the edge of the fire. An elderly man refusing to leave his home, only to be gently persuaded by a determined paramedic. The fire is a monster, but the spirit of the people is stronger. As the sun rises through the smoke-filled sky, casting long shadows on the blackened landscape, we see the fire beginning to recede. The fight is not over, but a turning point has been reached. The final shot is of the firefighter, his face smudged with soot, watching the sunrise. He's exhausted but unbroken. Sometimes, courage is born when everything else is burning. Close-up of firefighter Ethan Cole, his face covered in soot. He freezes. A faint child's cry cuts through the roar of fire. Sound drops. Heartbeat rises. Fire commander shouts, "Retreat!" N-O-W. Firefighters pull back. Ethan turns, then stops. Slow motion as he looks back at the burning house. The city's heartbeat is a rhythm I know well. The sirens wail, a familiar, almost comforting song. But for Ethan, a man forged in fire, it was a song that had turned into a dirge. You could see it in his eyes, the weary lines etched around them, a map of battles fought and lost. He'd spent 20 years walking into hell, so others could walk out. But one call, one face, had seared itself into his memory. A flash of a child's hand slipping from his grasp, swallowed by smoke and flames. It was a ghost that never left his side, a constant, chilling whisper of failure. He carried the weight of that loss like a second set of gear, heavy and unforgiving. He'd saved hundreds, but he was haunted by the one he couldn't. His team saw a legend, a rock-solid veteran. He saw a man living on borrowed time, waiting for a fire he couldn't walk away from. The bell would ring again, and he would answer. It was the only thing he knew how to do. The piercing scream of the station alarm shattered the quiet, a jolt of pure adrenaline. This wasn't a drill. The dispatcher's voice was tight, strained. Multiple alarms, chemical plant on the industrial wharf, full structured involvement, hazardous materials confirmed. The words hung in the air. A death sentence for the building. Ethan was already moving, his weariness replaced by a focused intensity. Gear on, checks done. The familiar routine a steadying anchor in the building storm. The ride to the scene was a blur of flashing lights and the guttural roar of the engine. But as they rounded the final turn, the true scale of the inferno hit them like a physical blow. This wasn't just a fire. It was a vision of the apocalypse. Towers of black, acrid smoke clawed at the night sky, tinged with the sickly green and orange glow of burning chemicals. The heat was a living thing, pushing against the truck's windows from a block away. The air crackled with the sound of groaning steel and explosive pops as barrels ruptured. It was chaos, a symphony of destruction. Stepping out of the truck was like stepping onto the surface of the sun. The noise was deafening, a constant, thunderous roar. Other crews were already engaged, their water streams looking like futile gestures against the raging beast. Ethan grabbed his axe, his face a grim mask behind his visor. He scanned the building, his mind a rapid-fire calculator of risk, wind direction, and structural integrity. This was the kind of fire that created widows and orphans. The kind of fire that didn't just burn, it consumed everything, including hope. A frantic voice crackled over the radio, cutting through the din. "Command, we have a report of a trapped civilian. Section Gamma, 3rd floor. A worker's kid was hiding in an office." A child? The word struck Ethan like a lightning bolt, echoing the ghost that always walked with him. Time seemed to stop. The roar of the fire faded to a dull hum. He saw the flash of a small hand, the memory rising like a phantom from the smoke. Not again. Not this time. Without a word to his captain, he broke from his position, his partner scrambling to keep up. "Ethan, where are you going?" "Command hasn't cleared entry." But Ethan was already gone, a shadow moving with impossible speed towards the mall of the building. Section Gamma was a death trap. The hut of the chemical storage. Every instinct, every year of training screamed at him to stay back. But the image of that lost child, the chance to silence the whispers of his past, was a pull stronger than any fear. He plunged into the smoke-filled corridor. The heat so intense it felt like his suit was melting. The air was a toxic soup. Visibility near zero. He navigated by memory and touch, his gloved hand tracing the wall. His low air alarm began its insistent, terrifying chirp. Time was running out. He was running out. Through the thick haze, he saw it. A small shape huddled under a desk, a tiny figure frozen in terror. He had found him. Ethan scrambled over fallen debris, his lungs burning, his movements growing sluggish. The child was coughing, his small face streaked with soot and tears. There was no time. The floor beneath them groaned, threatening to give way. The low air alarm was a constant shriek now. Ethan looked at the boy, then at his own oxygen gauge, blinking red. There was only enough for one. He didn't hesitate. In one swift movement, he unclipped his mask, the superheated, toxic air searing his throat. He secured the mask over the boy's face, pulling the straps tight. "Breathe," he gasped, his own voice a raw croak. "Just breathe." He lifted the child into the arms of his partner, who had just caught up. "Get him out." Now, his partner's eyes widened in horror, understanding the sacrifice being made. He gave a sharp, pained nod, and disappeared back into the smoke with his precious cargo. Ethan was alone, unprotected. The fire raged around him, a roaring, triumphant beast. He was out of air, out of time, and out of options. But he wasn't done yet. He knew the main chemical reactor was nearing critical temperature. If it blew, it would take out half the wharf, and every firefighter with it. There was one last thing to do. One final act. He pulled off his helmet, dropping it to the floor with a clang that was lost in the inferno. He took a deep final breath of fire and poison. It was an agony that cleared his mind. For the first time in years, the ghost was silent. The guilt was gone. He felt a strange sense of peace. With a resolute look, he turned and began walking deeper into the building, towards the glowing, pulsating heart of the fire. Towards the reactor. His radio, still clipped to his coat, crackled to life. His captain's voice, desperate. "Ethan, report." "What's your status?" "Ethan." There was no reply, just the sound of his measured footsteps. Then a surge of static as the flames found the device. Then silence. Outside, his crew watched in stunned horror as the section of the building he had walked into was consumed by a blinding white flash. The structure shuddered, moaned, and then began to collapse inwards. But the catastrophic explosion they all feared never came. The chain reaction had been stopped. The fire, though still immense, began to lose its impossible fury. They were saved. They were all saved. They stood in silence, helmets off, tears mixing with the sweat and soot on their faces, staring at the funeral pyre of the man who had walked back into hell to pull them all out. He had finally met the fire he couldn't walk away from, and in doing so, he had saved everyone. His watch had ended. Thank you for watching. If you or someone you know is struggling, remember that help is available. You can reach out to crisis hotlines or mental health professionals. You are not alone. Please subscribe for more stories of courage and sacrifice. Interior shot ceiling, collapsing walls on fire. Ethan crawls through smoke, coughing, calling out, "I'm here. Don't be scared." He finds a 7-year-old girl trapped under a burning beam. Tears on her face. She whispers, "Please don't leave." Ethan lifts the beam with his last strength. Outside, the house collapses. Firefighters stare in shock. Seconds feel like minutes. Someone whispers, "He's gone." Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's walking forward when fear tells you to run.